Yeah, Tao is above everyone else out there, Van Meekeren. And this pitch, this hybrid pitch of Fort Hill, has actually at times had a bit of extra bounce in it. So that high release point that he has might be able to maximise that and just surprise a few of the Nepal batters.
Beauty, really well bowled. That Maker, and what a great bowling change. I'm not 100% certain who it is making the changes. I suspect it's Max O'Dowd, given to position himself there in mid-off. Scott Edwards off the field, a reminder. It looks like he's not going to play any part. I'm going to try and get an update on that in between the overs for you. But if O'Dowd is the one who's made the bowling change, it's been an inspired one.
It certainly has. Coming in the 7th over, so just the 3 overs.
His first 7 have been bowled, 32 for 1.
Bimshaki, new batter in, but it's Kurtel who's taking strike of this Klein over. He continues on with his opening spell.
Yeah, just got confirmation there from the Dutch support staff, thanks. It's the two Ryans, as I like to call them, Ryan Cook and Ryan van Niekerk, alongside Heino Kuhn, that make up the 3 main coaches for the Dutch. Yeah, confirming, I don't know if we're going to see Scotty Edwards this innings. So, big concern over the rest of his series. Imagine Wes Barassi is going to have to be thinking about coming into action. It is Max O'Dowd who is captaining. The bails are again gone off, this time at the non-striker's end. And a very, very dark set of clouds is going to start to roll in. We will give you Duckworth Lewis Stern updates as we get them. We still have a full 50-over game right now. To give you an idea as to what Nepal would be, let's say they end up 2 down, they'd need to be 75 at the 20-over marker to be ahead of Duckworth Lewis Stern. And as soon as we get to 20 overs in the second innings, we'll have an official game. It looks like the sun is going to be gone for, well, quite a while here, Mel, and we might have a lengthy piece of overcast weather, and the wind seems to be getting stronger and stronger again. But O'Dowd is captaining, Edwards is off the field, and the information we have is he will not be out there again during this innings.
Well, that is a big blow. It really is. And might be a big blow for this series, this round of matches as well.
There's a great saying in football. I'm no football fan. I'm probably going to get the city wrong, but great saying in football, oh, it's all well and good doing it on the easy days, you know, the cup final days at Wembley and the like. But can they do it on a cold Tuesday night in Preston or in Middlesbrough or whichever city the same? Today feels like that kind of day, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's the, you know, it's all well and good making 100 on a flat deck at the Oval when the sun is streaming down and the bowlers are being overworked. Can you contribute on a day like today? This is when the going gets tough today.
Yeah, it's actually hard to convey watching at home, especially when you see the sun shining, just how difficult it is.
Brilliant length from Klein.
Oh, yes.
No idea how the sun is shining because we just had a massive patch of clouds roll in. And I thought that was going to be that for probably a few hours. It'll disappear in about 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, there's just one little break in the clouds that...
It's just about to go.
Yeah, it's right in the sun. But the wind has definitely picked up in the past 5 minutes as well. Up around
throw 22, 23 miles an hour, maybe a bit more than that, I think, actually, heading up towards 30 miles an hour. Really ferocious winds.
Down the leg side, as Kroos does the fielding. Do see Lorenzo Mayer and Dean Munaswame walking around in shorts. The lunatics. What are they doing in shorts? I'm going to see if I can get an update on Scott Edwards. I'll come back to you.
Go do that. When I see people in shorts, I want to actually do them physical harm because it's making me feel even colder. They just walk past us too. It should be illegal to have bear calves in this. Really is some of the most difficult conditions I have experienced, and that's just in the commentary tent. Again, beaten. This has been a terrific over from Klein. Just bowling at good length. They've just put the brakes on things after it looked like Nepal were getting off to a reasonably brisk start. The introduction of Paul van Meekeren, combining with a very tidy Klein, has just slowed things down a touch. Nicely driven, but straight to the fielder. That's another good over from Klein, and at the end of 8, it's 33 for 1. What have you found out, Lenny?
Yeah, we've established that I thought it was a glute injury for Scotty Edwards. Appears to be something down in the hamstring. Hopefully not terminal in terms of his participation for the series. Don't think anyone's suggesting that, but we're highly unlikely to see him for the rest of this second innings. It means that Noah Kroos has got the gloves on, and it means that Max O'Dowd is captaining as Paul van Meekeren comes in for his second. Looks for that Yorker. Probably doesn't need to look for the Yorker, does he? It's going to be particularly to Sharkey, who's diminutive in stature, it's going to be the pace and the bounce that will cause a threat to him.
Maybe he was just trying to repeat the ball that was responsible for first wicket, coming in just the second ball of his first over. And just getting the lines slightly wrong. That wind really is picking up at the moment. My goodness.
Does go full again. One-handed pickup gone the wrong end. Oh, and if Teja Nidamanoru is thrown at the non-striker's end, he's going to have 2 stumps to aim at. He's remarkably gone for a backhanded flick to the keeper when all his momentum was going towards the stumps. Crazy piece of cricket. What a piece of fielding at first. Made good ground to his left, picked it up cleanly. Because Bim Sharkey had dropped his bat, he might even have had time to run it into the stumps. But instead he goes for a flick to that end, and, well, Bertel was always getting home. This one's carved away with real aplomb. Races to the rope for 4.
That pleasing the Nepal fans. You can see them out there, flags waving. The cold isn't bothering them. They just spent quite a bit of time with I like to say Nepal for fans, but they're just as much fans of Andrew Leonard as well.
Don't know about that, Mel. I know they love their cricket, and I love my cricket. Yeah, it was great. Probably, I don't know, 200, maybe 220 in today, something like that. Met basically every one of them during the break. And the stories that they have for you in terms of the journeys that not just they've made to come to watch today, but the journeys they're taking in their life. I've met young students who are at university in Aberdeen and in Edinburgh. I've met fans who came on a train from Preston and Manchester and Birmingham. I met several fans who've driven from London, one of which drove overnight and hasn't been to bed yet, which Not sure how safe that is if he's planning to drive back tonight. Fans who've flown from Dublin in Ireland, from Malta in Europe, from Belgium, and one. He wasn't lying to me because I asked him 3 times, then I asked him for evidence of the airplane ticket, who flew from Calgary. Somebody flew from Calgary to be here, and he's here for all 3 of the remaining ODIs. So he's here for a full week. Yeah, the passion, the joy and the love of cricket and the pride of, I think it's something that only those who've ever emigrated can understand. The pride of being from the part of the world you're from and representing your nation in another part of the world is so apparent to see and lovely to hear those stories. The one that got me from the World Cup this day last year was the fan that I met, and then I went up to the commentary box to tell Ian Bishop about it, who had sold his car in Australia, in Melbourne, to be there. He said, well, we might not go to another World Cup for another decade, so I'm not missing out on it. I've got a friend in Texas, I'll sleep on his couch. I don't have the money for the ticket, but I'll sell my car. And it's stuff like that. I just gets across the scale of passion for the game in Nepal.
That's an incredible story. I actually remembered reading about that. I think that might have made it into the press as well.
It was quite funny, actually. I went up to the commentary box at the end of the 9th, 40 for 1. The television commentary box, that is, in that fantastic Major League stadium. And Bish was off air at the time, and I've been lucky enough to broadcast and work a little bit with Bish. And for all of us in the industry, we all look up to him, kind of Uncle Bish, he's affectionately referred to as by many. He was saying, Lenny, you always told me Nepal was special, but I never expected it to be quite like this in Texas, of all places. And actually, there's a massive Nepalese community in and around Dallas in particular, and that's why many would have, not travelled far to be there. But there was, I think that day when I went around the crowd, I counted over 40 states within America that fans had come from, Nepal fans, that is. There was a hardcore of about 100 Dutch fans as well, can't rule them out either. But it was that story that, as I went round the crowd, ended up randomly with some American police with me for a bit of it because they were getting scared by the number of photo requests. Bizarre, totally bizarre. But the fan that I spoke to who'd come from Australia, I said, Bish, I've got a great story for you. And he was spellbound. It almost took his breath away when I told him. And he said, do you mind if I tell that on air? And I said, mate, I don't mind if you tell on air. I'd love if you tell it on air. Because it helps get across the scale of what we're talking about in terms of love of cricket, and he did it infinitely better than I ever would have, and so well that it did indeed get picked up by many quarters of the press. And that day was particularly intoxicating. It was, I'm pretty sure, a midweek game with, I think it might have been an 11 a.m. local time start, or maybe a 10 a.m. local time start, but there was a cataclysmic thunderstorm that threatened the whole match and ended up with delaying the start by about an hour. And all that meant was there was an extra hour for the Nepal fans to get stuck into the beverages and make it even more of a party affair. I believe they sold out of all concession stalls on the day. It was 7,200, I think, is the capacity of the MLC stadium in Grand Prairie. It felt a bit more like 30 or 40,000 there that day. Good diving stop at cover point by Lion Cachet as he wrings his hand out with the pain from the cold. But that's what World Cups for me should be all about, Mel.
Yeah.
The story of the Ugandan fans who travelled to Guyana. We saw Papua New Guinea very nearly beat the West Indies on home soil, push them right to the brink. We saw Canada beating Ireland. We saw USA beating Pakistan. That 20-team World Cup was a kind of great step into the unknown, wasn't it? And I think it's here to stay.
I certainly hope so. It felt for me like the first real World Cup, probably since 2015, the ODI World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. And just to have the variety of fans, the colour. And sometimes you find, I haven't found that with Zimbabwe in Australia for the 2022 World Cup, which wasn't as big, but Zimbabwe was there. They got my vote for the fans of that tournament. They were incredible, and you spoke to some of those fans in Australia there from Zimbabwe, and they weren't even